Hello everyone, welcome to Steve's Horse Show. This is a 4-part series of why you should feed a pellet to your horse versus a textured feed. The first reason why you should feed a pellet to your horse is because typically a plant can get pellets produced for a lot cheaper than they can get a textured feed produced. Back in the old days, a lot of people thought that all the floor sweepings and all the things that ingredients that they didn't want for the textured feeds went into the pellet. However, that is not true anymore. These days, a pelleted feed is just as high of a quality as a textured feed is. So typically what a plant can do is they can put a lot of ingredients all into the pellet for a more inexpensive cost than they can a textured feed. There's less processes from the mill, and there's a lot easier ways to get a pellet formed than there is a textured feed. So typically, you can buy a pelleted feed that is the equivalent to a textured feed at a little bit less expensive of a cost. That's a great reason. Part 2 of our series on why you should feed a pellet to your horse. Part 2, we are talking about the consistency of a pellet. If you look at a pelleted feed, almost all of the pellets are going to be the exact same consistency. That is because what a mill does is they grind all of the ingredients, pressurize and heat, causes these pellets to form and hardens them up, and all of the ingredients are combined between all of the pellets consistently. So a horse is not able to pick around and get the ingredients that they like. If you have ever fed a textured feed to your horse, you will notice that a horse will oftentimes pick the oats out. They'll pick the heavy molasses parts out of the diet before they go to the other things. A lot of the vitamins, minerals, protein, and things like that are in the pelleted parts of textured feeds, which is what the horse will pick around. So a pelleted feed, it is a very consistent nutrition for the horse. Part 3 of why you should feed a pelleted feed. Part 3 is because a pellet is a lot softer, especially if your horse is older. A softer pellet will help the digestion process of the horse. In any digestive process of a horse, whether it's a young horse or an old horse, the digestion process starts in the mouth. The horse has to grind those ingredients, and by grinding those ingredients, the intestines and the stomach are able to access the essential parts of it that it actually needs. So all digestion begins in the mouth. With a pellet, it is a lot more soft and pliable, especially like a senior pellet that breaks and crumbles easily for the horse. That, in turn, allows the digestion process to be more efficient, and the horse is able to digest more out of those pellets than they are oftentimes a textured feed. Part 4 of why you should feed a pelleted feed versus a textured feed to your horse. The fourth and final reason why you should feed a pellet is typically pelleted feeds are lower in sugar and starch. Sugar and starch is not necessarily bad for the horse. Horses need sugar and starch for energy sources. However, typically, most horses aren't consuming enough or metabolizing enough sugar and starch to actually need the amount that we feed them as humans. So, typically in a pelleted feed, the sugar and starch ratios are significantly lower than in a textured feed. There are 2 commodities that are extremely high in sugar and starch. That is oats and corn. And those are the predominant ingredients in a textured feed. So if you feed a pelleted feed, oftentimes those ingredients are lower or completely left out of a pellet, and that is why it's lower in sugar and starch.